This is the ENGWE L20 2.0, and you might be looking at me and thinking, why do we have this bike on this channel? Because normally we do super high-speed electric bikes. Well, the reason why is because you would think this is like a 36, maybe a 48 volt e-bike. This is actually a 52 volt e-bike. Now the speed is only 28 miles per hour on this thing, but it's kind of cool. And that's because this one is upgraded a lot more than the version 1.0. The version 1.0 only did 25 miles per hour. It was on a 48 volt system, and it didn't fold in half like this one does. So this one can fit compactly in your car, or if you need to carry it up some stairs. And before you click out of this video, you have to know that this bike is starting at $799 for the pre-order sale, and it's gonna go up to $1,000 if you don't act fast right now. Now that you guys know that information and it's out of the way, I'm gonna sit on this bike and show you guys how I look on it, being about 5'9". And I'm gonna say I was kind of excited to get this bike in until I sat on it and realized this is not for short people. I don't even know if my head's getting cut off on top of this camera or if you can even see my feet because I'm on my tippy toes. And the reason why is because this is a suspension seat post and it's adding this much of extra space that you don't really need. So if you don't need the suspension seat on here, go down to your local bike store. You can save about that much. I wanna say like maybe 5 inches, and that will definitely help shorter people get onto this bike. Now let's move on to this battery, and I wanna show you guys how it gets removed because you guys might be thinking that the seat is in the way because it's gonna slide up from the top, and they thought about that. So there's one little button that you push underneath the seat. It unlatches like that. Basically just comes out of the way. It's super nice, so you don't have to undo this, pull it out every single time. That's a big pain in the ass. And then to take the battery out, you're gonna need the keys. You're actually gonna always need the keys too for the ignition to turn it on and off, so just keep that in mind. Once you have that little pin out and you turn it to the right position, you can pull it directly out. And here is some of that battery information. If you want to know any more of that, you can screenshot that. And it's also very easy to put this battery back in. You just have to get it on the rails in the back. Once you do that, push it all the way down. Make sure it clips on the bottom because those are where your connections are at. And then make sure you lock the battery in place. Here is a look at the bike folded in half. Your pedals also fold in half, which is very nice to get some extra clearance. And then the stem that connects to the handlebars also folds in half to make it a lot more easier. And it's sitting upright because you have a nice stand to rest it on, so you won't mess up the paint of this bike either, which is pretty cool. Next, let's move on to the lighting department of this bike. I'm a little bit disappointed in this headlight. I can't lie. I've seen a lot of better headlights on e-bikes, but I will say I'm not gonna dock it points for it not being super wide because I am close to the garage, so as I move it back, you're gonna see that it gets wider. I do like that it's the farthest thing away from the bike, so it's on the very edge of the front basket, so when you do put stuff, it's not gonna be blocked by any type of cargo that you put up there. And the brake light looks pretty good as well. The whole brake light doesn't light up, it's just one extra beam in the middle that lights up. But the cool thing is it's always on when your lights are on. If you do turn your lights off, it is off, but when you do use the brakes, it will light up. So that's a pretty cool safety thing. I don't know how well people are gonna see that during the day, but it's still nice to see. And then when both of the lights are on and you hit the brake light, doesn't matter if it's the left or the right, it will work. Here's a look at this front end, that headlight that sticks out very far from the bike. You got the rack right behind it that holds up to 17 pounds or 8 kilograms. You have full suspension in the front, which is super nice. You also got fenders as well. And you might be thinking when you saw this bike, these tires aren't 20 by 4 inches wide. They're actually 20 by 3 inches wide. And they go up to 45 PSI. I currently have these at 30. And they feel okay. They don't feel like the thickest thing, but they also don't feel that thin. Right here is where you have the controller. It's in this box underneath the battery. 6 bolts to take this off. Very, very easy to get access to that. You got an adjustable kickstand. The screw is right in the back, so if you wanted to lean more over or if you wanted to sit more upright, you can do that. Here is the back rack. It holds up to 25 kilograms, which is 55 pounds. And then here is a closer look at that brake light. Looks pretty nice. And of course, fenders in the back as well. And then if we move over here, you got your derailleur. It's all from Shimano. You also got a guard right here. This also helps with shipping. Mine wasn't bent at all. No issues with that. You got a little bit of branding right here. Feels like you could take this off, but it ain't coming off. That's probably gonna be on there forever. Yeah, this ain't coming off either. So you're either gonna have to tape this off or paint it or something. Oh, and one last thing I forgot. You got 2 bolts right here, so you can put a water bottle holder or a bag right there. Now the frame is very skinny though. Keep that in mind. You're probably gonna see when we go on the GoPro footage, but it is a very skinny bike. All right guys, so now that that is out of the way, let me put my helmet on with my GoPro and let's go see how fun this bike is before it gets dark. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on our first main road. Oh man, okay. So something I didn't know is that this bike stops at 20 miles per hour. To get it to 28 miles an hour, we actually have to pedal. And that's something I totally forgot about because I just talked to him probably over a week ago. But watch this. So max speed is 20 miles an hour. And to get up to 28, we can't actually pedal and use the throttle. Nothing will change. So you actually have to let off the throttle. Oh, make sure you keep both hands on the bike. And then you can get up to 28 miles per hour. I have a speed meter in my pocket, so we're gonna test to see if it's actually doing 28 miles per hour, which it shows 28.7 solid, and it hasn't changed. So let's see if that's accurate or not. All right, so my speed meter is showing 27 miles per hour. If you guys can see that on the screen. I haven't went very far. I've only done under a mile since leaving my house. And I gotta say, we're already down 1 battery bar. You gotta keep in mind, this is a 13 amp hour battery with a 52 volt system running at almost 1200 watts, roughly like 1100. But yeah, so I don't think this bike is gonna get much range, but we'll just keep our eye on that. Well, the next thing you guys gotta know is how the cockpit area is. Like, how does this all look and how does it feel? What do you get? So we got some palm rest grips right here. It's a little bouncy, as you can tell. It's not bothering me whatsoever, but my hands definitely are shaking on this bike. It would feel better if I had gloves on here because these grips are very like hard plastic. I don't like them whatsoever, and they feel really stuck on there. There's no locking mechanism, but they're definitely glued on there pretty good. And you have the same for this side as well with a half twist throttle. Next to that, we got a bell. I like how the bell works. It feels very nice and smooth, but it's not that loud. I would like to see a horn, but then again, this isn't a very high-end bike, so I guess I'm okay with that. But yeah, no one's really gonna hear you unless you're going pretty slow on a bike trail or a walking trail. People in cars, people standing probably 20 feet away from you aren't gonna hear anything. The handlebars do feel nice the way they're positioned. I like that they have a little bit of rise to them. I also love the display. It's nice in color. I like that you can see your modes clearly. Miles traveled down here is a little small, but you should be okay. And then real big in the middle of the screen is your mile per hour. That's the most important thing that you need to see. All right, so we are in our designated speed test. I already did this once. Probably didn't keep the clip in there because I accidentally hit the minus button and we're in mode number 4. So in this section, I like to see how fast this bike will get up to speed. Most bikes in this area will get up to 27 miles per hour on the average. If they get anything over that, they're faster. And if they're under 27 miles per hour, they're on the slower side. But we have an issue with this bike because we know that the throttle only goes up to 20 miles an hour. That means once I hit 20 miles an hour, I'm gonna have to switch to the pedals. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. It picks up speed pretty good, I would say. Look, we're already at 15 and then we're almost at 20. Okay, I gotta start pedaling. There is a delay going from the pedals to here, and it looks like we're gonna run into a lot of people. But it moves pretty good. There we go, we hit 27 miles per hour in that stretch of road. So it's just as fast as all the other e-bikes that we have. So now in this section, I wanna try out the pedals only. We're not gonna use the throttle, and we're gonna see how well they work and how fast they work. I'm also not in the right gear. We're in gear number 7, but we're just gonna try it out. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. You get a start. Definitely a very delayed start. It doesn't give you all the power at once. If you really need all the power, you're gonna have to use a throttle, because if you use just the pedals, they're not gonna work very well. So I would definitely highly suggest using the throttle if you gotta cross any street or get out of the way of traffic, anything, and then switch over to the pedals. Because that was a very, very big delay. Even being in the wrong gear, it still, once the power came on, it was just so laggy. Oh, look how nice these trees are. Oh, that's beautiful. We're gonna have to park this bike and I'm gonna have to show you how it looks out in the sun before the sun goes away. I gotta say, that is one beefy kickstand, man, especially for this bike. Now, there is no information yet. I'm pretty sure once the website is up, you're probably gonna click it in the link down below. But I will say right now, I have no information on the weight of this bike. I have picked it up and it feels like it's around the 65-pound range. If I get it at a later date or I make my second video on this, I will definitely update you guys. But it looks great. I love the flat black. I'm not a big fan of all the logos. I do like the one on the battery. It's not crazy bad. I like the one on the frame. I'm just not a big fan of these in the back. I feel like there's just something in every little section. I'm surprised they didn't put something right here, you know what I mean? So, and there is one on the front right here. So if you don't get the front basket, you're gonna have a ENGWE logo right behind there. But I do think it looks pretty nice with the front basket mixed in with the rear basket. I feel like you just have to have that combination going on this bike. So the next test we gotta do on this bike is see how well it comes up here. I'm gonna use the throttle only this time, and I'm gonna try it again with the pedals. And I think we should do it a third time with the pedals and the throttle. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, go. Throttle only. Definitely has really good punch to it. Look at that. Oh, it climbed it like a beast. All right, I'm gonna have to go a little bit farther back for this because we're gonna have to get the pedals engaged and they take a little bit. I also put it in gear number 1. So let's try this out in 1, 2, 3. Go, 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 go. There's no throttle. Oh, okay, cool, it did it. Oh, and now the power kicks on. Did you see that? Last test coming up the hill. We're gonna use throttle and pedals only. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's the way, baby. Yeah. Yeah, like a champ. This thing is great. Now, something I'm noticing, like right off the bat, if you're really trying to pedal very fast on here, that my feet are slipping off a little bit because we're kind of hitting some bumps. And since there's no suspension in the back other than the suspension seat post, I'm definitely getting a lot of vibration in my feet, and my feet are kind of almost coming off the pedals pretty much. It's happened once already. So someone had to throw out some trash. Alrighty. You always find some interesting stuff out here. You guys remember the video when we found a Honda Civic out here? And my feet just came off the pedals. They, little by little, after I hit multiple bumps back to back to back, my feet just slowly started like coming off the front of them. But it's all right. It's not too bad. Ooh, we got a little bit of air right there. We're definitely going really full. Woo! I'm slipping off the seat now. Man, if this wasn't a big seat, this would be very uncomfortable, but this seat is helping a lot. If I had to give this thing a rating, I would say it's probably about a 6.8 to a 7 out of 10 for off-road. It's not gonna be, oh my God, it's the best ever, but it's also gonna be like, man, like I'll never take that bike off-road again. It actually feels decent. All right, so we're down another battery bar, down the 3 left. I'm not even halfway done my review video, holy moly. So this is where I like to do the turning test, and this bike is wild for the turning test, I gotta tell you guys. Since the tires are 3 inches wide, this thing has turned so sharp when I've been riding it like crazy. It's so nimble, I like it. The turning radius on it is pretty good as well, so if I stop really quick, you're gonna see that it can go almost all the way around. And the reason why this side can't go all the way around is because it was my fault. When I was doing the cabling for the headlight wire, it was actually supposed to go on this side. That's my fault. But if you turn it this way, you can pretty much go all the way around. But be careful, because some of these wires are kind of tucked real nicely into the frame. If you turn it too much, you might pop a cable out that's connected somewhere down in here. But very good, especially for U-turns as well, because it's so small. Look at this. This thing will stay in one little section. Super tiny, very convenient and easy to move around. Next test we gotta do is the brakes. I'm a little iffy on them. I like how these brakes feel because they got rubber on them, but they're not hydraulic, they're cable brakes. So we're at 28 miles an hour, which is roughly 27 is what our GPS said, and we're gonna slam on them right now. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, that was pretty much as hard as I could pull them without fully locking them up, and you can see that we do have one little line right here. Pretty good though, I gotta say. Look, this is the line that we stop for very good bikes, and we're behind it, baby, even with these, because I think the bike is so light. Again, I've said this many times, and that's really contributing to this bike slowing down on time. Because if you had a 120-pound bike that's 52 volt and you had these types of brakes, we would be like way up there. And this is what I was talking about with the little rubber pieces on the handles. That actually makes it feel a lot better when using the brakes. Move out the way, people. Even though there's no one here. I'm gonna use it when there's no one here because I feel a little embarrassed using that. Something you gotta keep in mind, I just thought of, is that these pedals come very close to the ground, and I almost scraped one of them going around that roundabout. Let's see how it is up here, because I wanna go super fast and hit 28 miles an hour, and the only way to do that is pedal, but that pedal is so close. Oh, you gotta be careful with that. But check this out. We're not directly coming up an overpass. We'll do that in a second video, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. But look at this, 24 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, coming up an overpass, doing the roundabout. That's not bad. No complaints. Now, the next thing I want to do is let's go downhill and let's see if it cuts our power or if we can just go as fast as the bike will allow us. Let's see, 28. Again, we can't use the throttle. We have to use the pedals. Let's see, let's see. Oh, what? Nothing's changing. I can tell I'm not going any faster either. Oh, it just popped up 29. Okay. I'm still recording on my phone so I can see what speed we're going. Let's pull over here real quick and verify what our top speed has been so far. So our top speed is accurate, 29 miles per hour. All right, so we know we have our plus and minus buttons to go up in pedal assist. That also changes our top speed as well. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to come over and hit this top button on the side, and this goes through some stuff. So max speed has been 29.2 miles per hour. That's accurate. Our average speed has been 21.3 miles per hour. Our trip so far has been 7 miles exactly. And then our odometer is 7 miles. So wait, my phone said I've only done 5.8 now, roughly. I gotta double check that. Okay, so it's saying on here that we did 7 miles, and on here it's saying roughly 6 miles. That's 5.96. I'm just gonna round it up to 6 miles. So it's showing a mile difference. The next thing you guys probably would like to know is the throttle response of the pedals and the throttle. I've kind of got into it a little bit, but let's do this again. So throttle only, 1, 2, 3. It's instant when you hit it. Probably not even half a second. It works pretty fast, but it doesn't give you all the power. So 1, 2, 3. Then the power ramps up. So it's not instant power, but it's definitely better than the pedals. I'm gonna do this one more time and maybe you guys can tell what's happening. 1, 2, 3. Power's going. Now the power's kicking in. Now it's moving. Now it's like jamming. So just something to keep in mind. Now let's see how fast the pedals react. So 1, 2, 3. That's like roughly a 2-second delay, and then it has the same response lag as this does, where it gives you the power, but it's gradual. It's not all power all at once. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds before the power activates, and then it takes another full second for it to give you the max power out of this bike. Another thing I didn't mention at the beginning of this video is that you do have a preload on the left side, and then you can also lock out the suspension on the right. Now, I put them to the softest setting, and I am not locking out that suspension, but you can do it if you want. Now, you don't have the compression one on there, but it's okay. Suspension feels pretty good for me being 170 pounds. Let's jump off the curb really quick. Oh yeah. It's not smooth at all, but I mean, it's not janky. It's just kind of mid. That's the best way I can say. It's kind of like a mid-range bike. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're down to 2 battery bars out of 5. It is going quick, I gotta say. I think it's time we turn on our headlight. You can probably see a little bit of it on the ground. Starting to get dark now. Nice day overall though. Not super cold, not too hot. Just a perfect time to get out here and ride a bike. This is a very, very good bike for 800 bucks for the pre-order. If you guys are watching this video months down the road, it's gonna probably be at $1,000. But even at $1,000, it's not bad at all. Especially if you guys want a step-through design e-bike. The only worst thing I can say about it is if you're short, you're not gonna be able to ride this thing. Some other things you guys would wanna know too, and it's something that I took a while to adjust to see how I fit on the bike good. But let's just say you're shorter or taller than me, you do have some adjustments. So you can raise this pretty high. You can't go super high though, because you see how much of these cables are pulling, so that's pretty much the max you can go, but you can also go pretty low. I have mine adjusted a little bit higher than the base just because the seat is so tall. And then if you are on the taller side, the seat goes pretty high as well, to roughly around right there. That is gonna be for people that are probably like shack size right there. I feel like that's really high. Now the next thing you guys are gonna wanna know, I already know it, is ghost pedaling. Well, that happens at about 17 to 18 miles per hour. Very, very low. Not the best bike to pedal, I would say, if you wanna feel connected to the bike. But the cool thing about this bike is it is street legal. It's a 750 watt motor. Yes, it has a slightly higher peak power, but it is street legal. It doesn't go over 28 miles per hour. And using the throttle up to 20 miles an hour is considered class 2. Class 3 is considered pedaling to get that extra 8 miles per hour, which this bike does, and it complies with everything. It looks like we hit 10 miles on this bike and we're down to our last battery bar. So kind of something I was thinking of when I got on this bike is that I feel like you're gonna get roughly 13 to 15 miles of range. And you don't wanna push it probably after 15. You could get way better range if you just put it in a lower mode. Like if I drop it down to 2, I'm not gonna be going that fast anymore. But then again, I would say if you never are gonna go very fast, then just get a cheaper bike at that point. But I gotta say, I kinda like how the bike makes you have to pedal instead of just being on the throttle, even though that's something I like. You get a little bit of exercise out of it. And again, you're being street legal. One last test I'm gonna do before we go to the house and give you my final conclusion is what happens if your battery actually dies. Uh-oh, no power. What do? Can I pedal this bike back home? I am in gear number 7, and yes, it's taking a little bit of force, but I'm moving right along. If I don't want to apply so much force, I might go a little slower, but this feels perfectly fine. You're definitely gonna get a workout, but it's doable compared to the heavier bikes out there. This is gonna be a perfect bike if you get stranded. As long as you don't have a flat and you just don't have battery percentage, you'll be okay. So I turned the bike on and we went up to 3 battery bars in that time that I was trying to show you if you could pedal this bike with no power. So now I don't even know where the battery is actually at. There's no way to check voltage, unfortunate. I feel like bike companies need to start doing that. A lot of you guys are gonna say carry a voltmeter, but the average person is not going to carry a voltmeter and know how to use it and what pins to connect it to. I feel like a volt indicator would have been great on this bike. Okay, I'll try to make this fast, guys, and my hair is already so messed up. But I think it was messed up in the beginning of the video, but I'm not gonna try to bore you guys with a super long outro. I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible. So I like the front rack, I like the rear rack. I can go without having the front rack and then just have the headlight on here. That would be perfectly fine to me. Not a big fan of the headlight, but I'll check it out in a separate video. I don't like the grips. I don't like that it has hydraulic brake. It doesn't have hydraulic brakes, but I will say these performed very good, especially for how light the bike is. I like the frame design overall. I like the flat black. Too many logos I want to say on this bike. The biggest con of this bike is the fact that people that are 5'5" want to ride bikes like this, but they're not going to be able to. So if you do buy a bike like this, you're not going to be able to ride it until you change out the seat, unless you're going to get on the bike hella crooked and you're always gonna be at stoplights leaning over a lot. So if you just change this out, you won't have any suspension seat posts, so you're not gonna have any type of suspension back here. That's gonna make the bike a little bit more rougher, but you can put the seat a lot more lower, which will make it easier for you to get on, because the way this bike is designed, it's a step-through design. So it's made for people that have back problems or shorter people to get on. But look, I can't even slide on it. I have to really get on it, and yeah, it's just kind of uncomfortable. Once you're sitting on it and pedaling, it's perfectly fine, but when you come up to a light, it's not that great. Didn't really like the bell, but I like how the bell feels. It's actually louder in my garage than it was outside, especially I had a helmet kind of blocking my ears. The display is great. I didn't even take the film off of it yet, and I could see it clear as day, like during the sunlight. I could also see it at night very bright. It does dim and get brighter depending on if you turn the headlights on and off. You do have, you know, some settings in there to check out some information like your trip odometer, top speed stuff, but there's no voltage reading. Don't like that. The gears felt perfectly fine. fine. The chainring and the gears should be a little bit bigger. It would have been nice if they had like an 8 or 9 speed on here, or just put like a 50 something 2 sprocket on the front, because you're just ghost pedaling too early. Like 17, 18 miles an hour doesn't feel like you're connected to the bike. You're just basically moving the pedals just to get the bike to work. But I do like that this bike is street legal and it's not gonna get confiscated. You can't go over the speed limit here in California anyway, so make sure you follow your local law, because it might be different than us. Some places are limited to 20, especially some bike paths or trails like where people walk. You can't go over 20 miles an hour, so just keep that in mind, just so you don't get these taken away from you. I like the fact that this holds up to 55 pounds too, so you can, you know, carry some cargo. I'm not exactly sure how expensive these replacement batteries are, but it would be nice to have an extra one, because the next biggest con of this bike is the range. 13 amp hours of battery now in 2024 is not that much, but they're also not putting this bike at a huge price point. But there are bikes on the market that are a moped style e-bike that have 34, 37 amp hours of battery. Now they might not feel as good as this one. They might feel a little bit more janky, but you're still paying $1,000 for that bike and $1,000 for this one. Which one would you go for, type of thing? So it really depends on the market that you're into. Me personally, I would probably pass on this one, only because I don't need a step-through design. The seat is too tall. I don't need a foldable bike. I don't need something to put into my car. But if it's something that you need, that's small, light, and you just need to get it around like a campsite, or maybe go to the grocery store here and there, and you're not doing more than 15 miles in one trip, this should be a pretty cool bike for you. So links will be down in the description. I'll have discount codes. Again, the bike is $800 pre-order going on right now, but if you're watching this months later, it's up to probably $1,000, which is still not that bad of a deal. Maybe think about getting a headlight on this thing though if you're gonna ride it at night. The back's okay, front is not. And I never got splashed with any water or dirt when we went off-road, even though the tires are hella dirty, because we got fenders. And the front suspension felt really nice. One thing I should note before I leave is that the suspension feels very firm. It doesn't feel soft or plush. It kind of feels more on the firm side. If I had to say a 0 to 10 scale, I'd probably say this feels like a 7.5 or 8 for being on the firm side more than the soft side. So on that note, guys, again, links down in the description. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully that wasn't too long for you guys, because I know a lot of you guys skipped to the end of this video. Really appreciate you watching, true MVPs. And I gotta go, because I gotta take a shower, and I got another bike over here too. So subscribe to the channel, because we're always reviewing bikes on this channel. And I'll see you. Peace.